What's up, guys? Everybody out there? First time going live on Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So hopefully this goes well. I wonder if I can actually see if anybody is on the live stream. And I am going to bring you this beautiful cryptocurrency live stream because everybody wants to know what's going on with Bitcoin. Right now, especially as we just had the weekly closure for Bitcoin CME futures, which this was a pretty imperative closure. And yeah, let's see if we can get anybody to join the party here for a second before I kind of get into my notes and what I wanted to talk about. So I'm just waiting to get a little thumbs up from my recording partners here. Let's see. But I guess I'll start it off with, just saying welcome back to Bitcoin Advisors channel. My name is Chris. And I'm going to bring you this video from Westlake Village, California today. What is it? 90 degrees out here today. It was another really hot day, but today's going to be a bit of a fun day as we're doing the first live stream, and well, hopefully more to come if I can figure out all the recording software. What are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about Bitcoin's price action, the underlying market dynamics, what those are telling us, whether we should be bullishly biased or bearishly biased. We're going to talk about a few altcoins like Ethereum, Luna, Solana, XRP. And first things first, I do want to start it off with some of our underlying market dynamics. And the first thing I'm going to bring our attention to is open interest, which has taken a massive leg up. Open interest is all the leveraged positions on the board. And we're sitting at about 13.5 billion in open interest. It is the biggest leg up we've seen, in quite some time, probably since back here in December. And I will note, the last time we did take a big leg up like this, that was followed by about a 25% correction. However, that's just a warning sign and something to kind of prepare for at some point. When open interest does get this high, it's to be aware a 25% correction is likely incoming at some point. And so that's open interest, the leverage positions. Here's the funding rates. Funding rates are a bit slightly negative, about inconsequential at the moment. And we got the fear and greed index. We're now coming to a neutral zone. And actually, over the last year, kind of getting in the neutral zone has been a bit of a selling point. If you compare that with price action, this is obviously in the fearful zone. This is, the underlying market dynamic with the old Warren Buffett saying, when others are fearful, it's time to be greedy. Okay. When people are being greedy, right, which is when, you'll see this gauge get up here. That's the time to be fearful, right? So that's in correlation with some of Bitcoin's high back to the November highs and the I'd say that correlates with the May high of 65,000, and then the July, August high around 69,000. So probably a good time to be a buyer at 30,000, a seller at 60,000, a buyer here at 29,000. And then where do we just lift off to in this last kind of zone from 32,000 up to 45,000. And so we've been tightly in this range. And I think that's it for underlying market dynamics. Open interest is way up, so there's a lot of leverage out there. Fearful in the neutral zone, so people aren't quite greedy yet. But what I will say is this is an ascending triangle, which typically is going to break to the upside, and it is typically going to break at about 75% full. That's one of the reasons why I'm a bit cautious with its breakout. The market makers have definitely been pushing price action down in this area. However, I do think there are some bullish things to point out. And I will start it off with the silver cross right here, which, Mr. Crown has famously pointed out, saying that it could quite possibly confirm a cross. I actually would have confirmed it as of yesterday. When you get the silver cross, that has been directly correlate, and that's when the 21 exponential moving average crosses the 55-day exponential moving average. Not a death cross, but which is this guy right here, but a silver cross. And just to give you an idea, the last time we had a silver cross, Bitcoin went down 40%. And it can go both ways, right? To the upside or to the downside. This was a 52% gainer to the upside. This was from the cross to the next high, 39%. And vice versa. I'll show you one more. To the downside, I believe that's about 46%. So that is telling me, hey, look, something new is happening, something definitely to be aware of if that cross is confirmed. So what else do I want to point out? So we talked about the silver cross. Let's look at our momentum indicators. A couple of indicators I'm looking at here. One is the RSI, that's the relative strength index used to identify bullish or bearish divergence. Then you have the stochastics used to identify momentum. And then you've got this guy right here, the BBWP used to identify volatility. This thing measures volatility. And one thing to know in Bitcoin land is if volatility gets extremely low, then what's going to happen is volatility is right around the corner because Bitcoin is a 80 to 100% volatile asset. So as soon as volatility gets extremely low, not necessarily on the daily time frame, well, actually, yes, on the daily time frame. So if we correlate that last low, when volatility was low, right? What happened? We had a leg down of 23%. The last time this got low right here, right? And the other thing to note is volatility is direction neutral. That produced a 27% move. So what are we coming out of? And you can go back and check that out yourself. This one looks like another 25% move to the downside. This one back here, a little bit smaller of a move, which was 15%. This one was rather big right here. This one produced a nice 38% candle. So what else are we going to look at here? Okay, volatility. So we know a big move is coming. Volatility was already low, so that kind of began the move. And I'll just lead on to kind of another point here is volatility already began its move upwards and higher, and now we're kind of flattening out. So what we don't want to see is volatility start to tick down. If we do see that, I would expect a corrective move and somewhere, for Bitcoin to come down around 41,800. However, do I think that's what's happening with all the leverage coming on the board? I think more people like to get a little bit more bullishly biased. And I'm going to take a look at some of the lower term time frames to give myself a little bit more of a biased opinion. And what am I going to see here on the relative strength index? So right now, there is one So that's two higher highs. Is that a confirmed higher high is the question. I would say no. What we want to see is a closure below 44,182. We haven't got that yet. So that's not a confirmed local high. But if we do see that, that'll be 2 drives of bearish divergence. And what is that? That is when price is making higher highs and RSI is making lower highs. And so we have this high. So that's in correlation to these two highs versus this high and this high right here. That does all but look confirmed. And so actually that would give me a little bit of bias in the medium term time frames that if Bitcoin loses the exponential here and gets kicked out of the bullish control zone, which it hasn't done so yet, that would tell me to look for a move at least down to about 43,282. But more importantly, what else would be going on here? So that's only 2 drives. Typically, you want to see 3 drives of bearish divergence to get a move down to the 21 and second target down to the green 55. What else do we see here is momentum is crossed down as long as Bitcoin is closing below 44,694. So on the 4-hour time frame, what we need is Bitcoin to cross back up above 44,694 to see momentum continuing to the upside. However, volatility is declining right now. So that says to me, hey, we're just making a kind of a corrective move, which is completely fine. In fact, I wouldn't mind if basically on the daily time frame, if Bitcoin wanted to come back down to about 42.5 and kind of retest this support level. As long as Bitcoin does not close back below, actually, I would say this wick low, 40,200, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to move onwards and upwards from here. So what I would like to see over the weekend, typically price action is a little bit floaty and flighty and not to be trusted. Why? Because you got all the retailers getting in there and you've got all the people in Hong Kong and China that are playing on Sunday, which is really their Monday. And you usually won't get a real confirmation of what's going to happen until Monday, New York Stock Exchange open. But what I think is a little bit more likely to happen here is maybe we get one more little spurt to the upside, get people bullish. They put it back down, the market makers. And then if we can get another higher low right there, that would look good for Bitcoin to hit the next target, which the measure move off of this consolidation right here, if we take the Fibonacci retracement from this guy here from that wick to that wick, you're looking at a move up to 52,000. And that is going to be right in line with, if you're measuring this as a ascending triangle, then you would look at this and you'd measure this out at 50% from there to there. And that's right in line with, okay, that's at 51,000. And I'm going to change kind of my bias a little bit based on some prior history and analysis on Bitcoin. Because what is technical analysis? It is just basically it's statistical probability. Nobody is coming from the future to tell us what's going to happen, but based on statistics and probabilities, certain setups are going to give you a bias on whether the price is going to go up or down. But if we're comparing this to the 2018 market, what you can see is that Bitcoin hit 20,000. It made its first lower low and lower high. And that was the trend reversal right there. It's more clearly identifiable right here. So that was your first lower low, taking out this low right here. And then your first lower high. Yep, that was kind of the fake out right there. And so where did that come up to? Actually, I want to look at it on a weekly time frame. So the 2018 market, yeah. So we had our first lower low and lower high right there. And the reason I'm doing this is because price action tends to repeat itself. And when we get a low, basically the bull traps come in around the 0.5 to the 618 fib. And that's pretty much exactly what we got. We got a bounce up to the 0.5, not quite, but all there. And so that kind of tells me something. If we're going to play out a similar price action to 2018, then we might not get back up to the 618, which is where I've kind of been postulating we could go to on the weekly time frame. And if you guys have been following along our channel for some time, we've been talking about this, that we've had a target for Bitcoin to bounce at some point, right? At some point, it's going to put in a bull trap somewhere. And that's usually between the 0.5 and the 618. And that, which hopefully I can get this right. So if we're coming to the 0.5, that's right at about 51,000. We've been postulating that Bitcoin could rally as high as 55,000. But if we show any kind of weakness in this area right here, like Bitcoin comes up here and then it wants to come back down and break below the 382, that's confirmation of the bull trap. But I'd go as far to say is if it gets below the 0.5, back below 50,000, that would be our confirmation. Hey, Bitcoin is not going to make new all-time highs, not going to rally to the moon. However, I will say this, if Bitcoin does something like this, we come up to the 0.5, and then we put in a higher low right here, that's going to look really good for Bitcoin, at least coming up and retesting the highs, somewhere around 65,000. I do believe if we do start to get back up there, and actually with a daily closure back above 69,000, I'm looking for the next kind of massive target to get hit, which I will throw that up there. And this is for kicks, really. There's no fortune telling here, but these Fibonacci numbers, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Fibonacci numbers are, but it tends to work out in nature, in your palms of your hands and your face. The Fibonacci numbers, they actually mean something. And so next target, if we do break out on a daily, no less than a daily above 69,000, next target's going to be 90,000 bucks. And then I do believe we'd have a juice to get up to 100,000. Now, Bitcoin's got a lot of things going against it right now. One, interest rates are going lower. Sorry, they're not going lower. We got 6 more rate hikes, about 0.25% each rate hike for the rest of the year, says the Fed. And that's only if inflation gets under control. They said if inflation isn't under control, we might start seeing a 0.5 point rate hike, a 0.5 point rate hike. And that every time they raise rates, I mean, it's bad for the economy, bad for stocks. And, Bitcoin has been highly correlated with the NASDAQ. As you can see, the NASDAQ here putting in a higher high on the weekly for the first time in some time, rallying out of this 20% decline. And another reason why I'm a little bit more bullishly biased here, when you see NASDAQ doing something like that, that's very bullish. That is a bullish continuation candle. So I do believe NASDAQ will get a little more love next week. Could play out a little bit of downside first. Alongside, big companies like, what did Apple do today? Apple almost, is that revisiting the highs? Yeah, that's getting back above the 618 fib. So we got Apple Yeah, breaking back above the 618. Tesla, let's see where it's at in the scheme of things. Almost to the 618 to the T here. And that's if you're measuring off that high. If you are measuring on a closing basis versus wicks, yeah, we're right at the 618. So that's your traditional bull trap area. What else do we like to look at is the dollar index, which we've had a target on the dollar of 103 back from, I don't know, this breakout on a weekly time frame. As soon as we made this higher low and this higher high, that was a macro trend reversal, and dollar has been strengthening all the way through. Another point against the bulls. And might as well check in on Mr. Gold here. How's gold holding up? We called a very, very nice one here. Said, hey, look, gold probably retest the highs. Sells off, comes back down to about 1900 and picks itself right on back up. Gold being that inflationary hedge asset, that security asset. So we've got inflation, interest rate hikes, and a war that who knows how that's going to play out. Those are kind of that's a big X factor here. But as you've noticed in the news media, we're not hearing as much about the war. Just curious, what did Facebook do? Oh, that's playing out a pretty pitiful bounce there. MicroStrategies, another Bitcoin holder, barely recovering, doing what Bitcoin is doing. But that's enough about traditional markets. I'm going to wrap up my thoughts on Bitcoin and just go over one last thing here on the weekly time frame. Let me put up my other chart actually. Bitcoin on the weekly time frame, which the higher the time, the higher term the time frame, the stronger the signal is going. And so what you can see here is two higher lows, or our first higher low, and a confirmed, not on spot price, but actually on CMEs. And forgive me, this is the chart I was looking at. So we've got the higher lows coming in here on CMEs. And for all of you out there that are, don't know, CMEs are where the professional Bitcoin traders lay. And it's pretty much one of the most technical charts out there. And so what we do have here is two drives of bullish divergence. And what is that? Excuse me, hidden bullish divergence, right? So price is making higher lows, 1, 2, and the RSI down here is making lower lows. So from this point, you got two lower lows. So it's hidden bullish divergence. And I said it was confirmed last week, in fact, with that big candle right here. However, this just kind of doubly confirms it, and closing above the 21 exponential there. And just for kicks, let's see what the measure move on this will be on a closing basis. I already had it drew out. Let's see where I had it drawn out from. Yep, from there. So I'm going to get this line out of here. And on a closing basis, we just did it today. That puts us at a target of about 50,000. And that is, in fact, where I think likely we get at least a small pullback. In fact, on spot price, I do believe on the daily, if we do break out of this, put in another little higher low right there, definitely going to see some pressure here at about 47,800. And you can see this with the volume profile. Let's see if I'm correct. Yep. So that volume profile right here, these are resistance areas, and we are just breaking above this major one. Really nothing stopping us until we get up to about 47,000. So, and then it's time to play the game of, lower high or not on the weekly time frame. Should I say on the daily time frame, whether we make a higher high and then a higher low, or do we just completely get shafted back down and fooled all again? So that's wrapping up my thoughts on Bitcoin. It does look like, based on CMEs, that this ascending triangle is going to break out to the upside, and that is based on the weekly time frame. The weekly closure is a much more powerful signal than the daily closure. So yes, could we open up the week on Monday and come back down and test 43.4 or even 42? Completely fine. We just don't want to see any daily closures. I didn't gotta get the volume profile off. Don't want to see any daily closures back below. Call it this wick low right here at 40,000 bucks. So any kind of, low right here that gets put in, that's just another higher low in a row of, we got higher highs and higher lows coming in here. So that looks good for a move, at least some bucks. If we play this market out like the 2018 market, which here's a point for the bulls and why I don't think it is like the 2018 market. In fact, is when we made a new all-time high. We shafted down 50% and then made a new all-time high, all in the matter of, what was that, from April, this is May or July, November, January. So all this massive price action all in a short period of time. We didn't get that same type of price action in 2018. What did the market do? I'll put on spot price because CMEs weren't even available back then. And what did we have here? So we had this high. So did we get the move up to the 618 fib? No, we never got up. We barely even got up to. So we're looking for some kind of big bounce at some point. We're in a downtrend. We want to see one big bounce. That's typical for Bitcoin. It gets everybody really bullish, and then the market throws it back down in their face. So, and then we just never recovered. We never broke 20,000 until, look, that was December 2017 to May of 21. December of 2017 to May of 21. Doing some basic math here. We're talking about, I don't know, 2.5, 3 years. So the question is, do you have the power and the to bear through the bear market and hold on for dear life's sake? Or do you want to learn how to trade? And this is one of those times, look, when Bitcoin goes from 4,000 in March to 60,000 in less than 1 year, right? Nobody has to make money. The old saying is, don't confuse brains for a bull market. And that's when everybody and their mother is telling you about buying Dogecoin, and you run into somebody at a garage sale or at the beach or whatever you're doing, and they're telling you about the latest crypto to buy. And that's when you know, okay, the hype's here. And now that there's been less interest, less people following the channel, less people tuning in, this is one of those times where you get those unexpected moves. And I do like this for some continuation to the upside. However, everything will be invalidated with any kind of a daily closure back below 40,000. If you're conservative, more aggressive traders would just say, hey, look, any kind of a closure below this 21 exponential, and this is game over. We're very likely come down to 37,000. If that breaks, say hello to 29,000 down here. So I think that's going to be it for today. I don't know how, I don't really have it in me to bust out the other charts. I guess we'll take a look at Luna because we've been doing this for some time. Luna did put in a pretty bearish candle here at the end of the day. And it does look like we have 1, 2, 3 drives almost of bearish divergence. And what's that? Price is making higher highs here. There's 1 high, 2 high, 3 high. So 3 drives of bearish divergence. Typically that does give me a target. First target is 1. Second target is the green 55 at 79 bucks. However, I have been saying over the last week, if this trend line holds on the daily time frame, then hey, I'm expecting this one to move onwards and upwards. I do like this play. I just heard today that not only did they raise $2.2 billion and they bought 2 worth of Bitcoin to basically stabilize their reserves, right? But they bought another $520 million worth of Bitcoin this week, and they're planning to raise it to $3 billion of Bitcoin, essentially in their war chest to back up their stable coins, because that's what Luna does. They make stable coins, and they're offering some pretty sweet APYs right now. Apparently, they are getting a lot of love, and this has been a beautiful chart. It's been one of the strongest charts in all of cryptocurrency land. I mean, if you can go back and take a look at this guy, this was October of 20, sitting at 35 cents. You know, if you got back in May of 21, the coronavirus dump, that was at $4, and today we're at 90 bucks. So this is one of the strongest charts in all of cryptocurrency land. And this weekly candle is just, I mean, it looks like it might be losing a little momentum here. And we could be putting in a little bit of a top. I would say it'd be completely fine for this to come back down to about 75 or even 67 bucks and still remain bullish to the upside. That is totally in the cards right now, but any kind of a daily closure above this high right here at 104. My next target on this guy is right here at about 140, 138. I think that would be hit relatively quick if we can break the all-time high and get in another blue sky breakout. Okay, last one, Ethereum. Ethereum is playing out this descending triangle on the weekly time frame. Let's see, it's more clearly on the daily. We've been calling this one out since it broke back here, saying the measure move, taking it up to 3370. And for me to get bullish on this guy again, I would want to see basically a daily closure above, call it 3,400. If we can do that, I think, you know, it's game on for Ethereum. Ethereum has some new rollouts happening, the merger going on, Ethereum 2.0. Does this kind of price action happen overnight? No. I think, you know, some of these plays are going to take some time to work themselves out. But if Bitcoin does want to break that range and hold above 45,000, call it 46,000 if you're conservative, and that's what we have been saying. Look, if you're conservative, wait for 46,000 breakout right here along the top side of the resistance, right? We want to see a daily closure above 46,000. That should give us the next move to 51 to 52. And hey, if this thing wants to come back down here and just kind of play around in this ascending triangle, bore everybody to death, and then hit it at the end of April or the middle of April, I think that would be totally in the cards as well. But with where open interest is up, you know, again at almost 14 billion, that's telling me a massive move is coming. And yep, I think that is going to wrap up my thoughts on the cryptoverse today. I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. I hope somebody tuned in, and I'm just going to check if there's any questions from anybody in the chat. Let's see. Okay, When Moon, J44K. Yes, I hope we break the resistance. Okay, do we have divergence? Joseph asked. I'm gonna pull this up. Joseph, are we? I'm gonna say, are you talking on a daily or what time frame? What time frame are we talking about? Let's see if Joseph, are you there? On the daily. Okay. So do we have any divergence on the daily time frame? That's a great question. And so how do we identify divergence? Using local highs and local lows. Um, and what I will say is it looks like we had bullish divergence play out here. So let's see here. Let's see here. Coming from this point, no. Let's see if we can go back and take a look from this point right here. Nope, I'm not really seeing any divergence, maybe from this point right here, and it did play out a bit, but that even that wasn't close enough on the RSI. So, and that's typically, you want to see divergence plays in the bullish control zone up the top here, and then also in the bearish control zone. Right now, we're kind of in the middle. We've been ranging. And what I would say, though, is it does look like some bearish divergence will play out if we cannot close above this high at 50,680. Eventually, we will get bearish divergence. And why is that? So what we have here is the RSI making 1, 2, 3. That'll be 4 drives of bearish divergence. And something else to note here, the first time we get back to the bullish control zone is after being away from it for a long time, which I don't know if I'd consider this a long time, but you can see we got towards the bullish control zone, got kicked right back. As we approach this again, I would say, Bitcoin probably does have a small or medium term pullback at the very least, but the divergence. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4 drives of bearish divergence. Why is that? Well, we've got a high here. We've got a lower high here, a lower high here. Or I don't know if I'd call that one a lower high, but I'd say at least 1, 2. Yeah, no, it is 4. It is 4. 1, 2, 3. And that would be your fourth one right there. So these are all lower highs. Well, RSI is making higher highs. So if I can draw this out for you, it's like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And that is only going to be confirmed if Bitcoin cannot close back above. Gosh, and even this guy right here at 48,000, would I call that a high? Right here? I don't know if I'd call that a high. That doesn't look like a high to me. Not a clear, identifiable stop and reverse point. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4 lower highs in correlation to RSI from this point right here, making 1, 2, 3. I don't know if you'd call that a 4, but how would we confirm that on the daily time frame now? So let's say we close where we're at today, and then tomorrow we close back below it at 43,000, back below this last high. That'll look pretty bearish to me. That would at least give us a move to the 21 at 41,305. But getting 4 drives, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually got sent all the way down, a wick down to 38.5, somewhere in that range. That would actually probably do it for me, alongside volatility increasing, getting above the 50 percentile. And with the stochastics crossing down, what you'd want to see is not necessarily the stochastics like cross in this area. It's more when it gets down here, back out of the critical zone. So stochastics doesn't really tell you overbought or oversold. Stochastics really just is for momentum. And the thing with stochastics is they can stay up here for a while. Like this time right here, Right here, stochastics crossed down, crossed up, crossed down. And what was Bitcoin's price doing back then? It was having a mega rally, right? It rallied from 53,000 to 69,000. So that's actually a bullish sign. If stochastics are stuck up in the critical zone there, and you can see it a lot of times, it happens on the lower term time frames, is that you are stuck in the critical zone up here for on the hourly or the 15-minute. It can wiggle around up here for a little while, and that's a bullish indication. It's not until we come back below the critical zone that's when you go, okay, momentum is shifted to the downside, and vice versa. Same thing on the bottom side here. When we cross back to the upside, that is the indication, okay, momentum is coming back to the upside. All right. Any more questions, sirs? People out there? All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for today, guys. I had a lot of fun. Hope you guys did too. Take care. I'm going to go ahead and end this lovely Friday stream. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and check back on Monday. We're going to try and do another live stream. Take care.